So, I started this project because I'm a person who's within his own mind a lot. I'm always thinking about and questioning things. Believe it or not, one of my favorite things to do is psych people. No guys, not like pulling jokes on people, but analyzing people's thoughts and trying to figure out how they're thinking. You can ask my friend Dylan, I'm really good at it. But the real reason is because of a game. You see, back in 2009 I was introduced to a game series called Persona. The objective of the game is to summon the physical manifestation of your persona to defeat shadows. Here's a clip of the game to give you a little bit of a visual image.
Only a select few wield the power of a persona, and the Dark Hour is a frontier that is ours alone to explore.
There's no telling what will happen if we don't do something about the shadows.
That makes you all hypocrites. Said shut up.
Don't look up.
We call them shadows. Yeah, so what?
What was that?
I want to protect you. To truly live, you will need to make changes sometimes.
The time has come for you to wield your power. Going forward, there is one thing you mustn't forget. You must accept your destiny.
Shall we begin?
Midnight's just around the corner.
Now, I know probably none of that makes any sense at this point, but don't worry about it. I'm going to be explaining all that in due time. After beating the game once, or like 5 times, I got really interested in the background of the game. I started asking questions like, what are personas and shadows? And how do they relate to people in the real world? With all these questions abounding in my head, I decided to go to Google. In case you don't know what Google is, it's this huge website that pretty much helps you answer any question you've ever had about anything ever. Like ever. After that quick search, I had most of my questions answered, and I was content for the most part. Until I started to see a lot of what I had been reading being displayed in real life. So, naturally I sought out further information, and that's when I came across a scientist by the name of Carl Jung. But before I get into that, there's some key things that I need to tell you about first. Here's some key terms you should know before this video gets too far along. Carl Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875. He was a doctor who treated mental illnesses. These days, we call those psychiatrists, or shrinks. But basically, they're people who sit there and get paid a lot of money to listen to your problems and show you ink blots that their 5-year-old probably made the day before in class. No? No? Oh, okay. Moving on. Keep in mind that in the 1800s, psychiatry was still in its early developmental stages. At the time, doctors employed the use of hypnosis as the most adequate means of treating their patients. While treating patients, Jung noticed that under hypnosis, some were showing facets of their personality that he had never seen before. When questioned about it, most had no idea what the doctor was talking about. It was from this observation that Jung and his respective colleagues decided that there must be a section of the mind that we are unaware of. This would later become what we now know as the unconscious. The unconscious is the part of the mind that we aren't aware of. Think of it as a sort of treasure chest you don't have the keys to. So, how do we prove the unconscious is there? Have you ever accidentally called a teacher mom? This is known as parapraxis, or slip of the tongue. Have you ever had a random song pop into your head for no reason? Or remembered something out of the blue? These are all signs of your unconscious at work. From Jung's perspective, a mind is healthiest when your conscious is in control. But what happens when your conscious mind loses control? He believed that those with mental illnesses had let their conscious minds slip, and thus allowed the unconscious to break free and cause havoc on that person's mind. Think of it like this. When your conscious mind is too tired and weak to drive, your unconscious takes the wheel. And this is more often than not a very bad thing. It's like giving your 10-year-old brother the keys to your car and then telling him not to wreck it. You're only asking for trouble. Sorry. Just got a, little worked up there. Continuing on. Some contributions to mental illness are suppressing emotions, which, as teenagers, we're pretty good at doing by this point, working too hard, or stressing yourself to the brink. For instance, killing yourself over studying, or worrying about every little detail is only going to wear your conscious mind out. So just remember in college, stop, take a deep breath, and say, chill. I gots this. But overall, if you get a decent amount of sleep and eat right, you'll be fine. Now let's talk about the development of your unconscious. As newborns, our minds haven't developed enough to think cognitively. At least, not like we do today. As we grow, so do our minds, and the unconscious within begins to take form. The unconscious is created through one's own personal experiences in life. As you build experience and accumulate knowledge, memories, and emotions, it's believed that the mental energies from all these things gather in a realm outside the conscious, the unconscious. While treating patients, Jung came across something strange that could not be explained. People were describing places they'd never been, events that had never happened to them. How could any of it be true? He couldn't just disregard it as inconsistent ramblings. It wasn't until he started to notice some similar phenomena in his other patients that he developed his most famous theory. Man's unconscious is shared. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, stop, hold on. How is that even possible? I can't read minds. How is it possible that I'm connected mentally to anybody else? But that's just it. It's a shared unconscious, so of course you're not going to be aware of it. Here, let me explain. The first level is known as the conscious. Everything in your mind that you're aware of all the time. Level 2, the unconscious, the part of your mind that you are unaware of, but made up of your own personal experiences and memories. And level 3, the collective unconscious, where all the spare thoughts and mental energy from the beginning of mankind is said to be housed. Think of it kind of like this. It's a place where all of man's ideas and experience are networked together. Keep in mind, guys, this is just a theory, but it would help to explain a lot. Like, why we get things like deja vu from places we've never been. Or why we feel comfortable somewhere that's unfamiliar. Past human experience that lies in the collective unconscious. On to my next topic, archetypes. An archetype is a pattern represented over and over again in stories, history, and society. For those of you who are a little fuzzy on what I'm talking about, here are some examples. Hero, damsel, villain, leader, soldier, jock, nerd. All of these are archetypes, represented countless times throughout history and modern days. Most all archetypes differ depending on social class, age, gender. The list goes on, of course, but we'd be here all day if I wanted to go through them all. And seeing how this is kind of our last day of high school, I don't think we want that. Archetypes are the most basic form of pattern recognition within the brain. What it does is give you a basic view of somebody who is filling the archetype. This makes it easy for your mind to connect to these people if you know their role in society. But I'll touch more on that later. Moving on to the first of my final two subjects, the shadow. Jung explains the shadow as the personality we choose not to see. Let me give you a situational example. Two choices. 1. Stay home and study for a test. 2. Go to the movies with your friends. In that choice, there are two yous, the slacker who has fun, and the hard worker with no life. The one you didn't pick has now become a part of your shadow. The you that never was, so to speak. The shadow is an accumulation of choices you did not pick, the yous that you never became. More often than not, the shadow is made up of regrets and negativity directed towards oneself. Think of it as a shadowy, creepy person in the background, always lurking around. With all those dark thoughts looming behind the scenes in a person's mind, why not just do away with the shadow entirely? Jung suggested that it is the shadow which gives our conscious thoughts and decisions moral value, and that getting rid of a shadow would be like getting rid of a part of yourself. Do you remember that game I mentioned earlier? Well, now I'm going to show you a clip of what happens in that game when a person is unable to face their shadow.
Who are you? I wouldn't think that.
Yeah, right. How long are you going to keep deluding yourself? Screw the shopping district, and Juness too. You're sick of everything, especially living out in the sticks.
What are you saying? That's not true.
You put on a good show of being carefree and happy-go-lucky because you're so terrified of being alone. The more the merrier, right? You gotta be surrounded by people to block out the pain of isolation. And what's this about checking out this world for Saki-senpai's sake? Ha! I know the real reason you came snooping.
Stop it!
Why so panicked? I thought I was just spouting bullshit. Or maybe I do know everything you're thinking. Why's that? Because I am you. You just came because you thought it sounded like a good time. What else is there to do out in this shithole? A world inside the TV. Now that's exciting. You didn't have a single other reason for coming here, did you?
It's not true. Stop! Stop it!
You're just trying to act like a big shot. If all went well, hey, maybe you could even be a hero! And that senpai you were so sweet on? Her death was the perfect excuse.
That's not true! What are you? Who are you?
I already told you. I'm you. Your shadow. There's nothing I don't know about you.
Screw that! I don't know you! You can't be me, you son of a bitch!
That's right! Say it again!
You're not me! You're nothing like me!
Yeah, that's right. I am me now. I'm not you anymore, see?
The boy couldn't accept the fact that those were his true feelings, and as a result, his shadow got out of control. Now, obviously, that was a dramatization. Kind of. Accepting one's shadow as part of yourself is key to truly accepting yourself as a person. Alright, enough with the sappy stuff. Time to move on to my favorite and final subject. So if you've tuned out at any point, now would be a good time to tune back in, because this is the part of the video that relates directly to you. Yes, you. As a vocab word, we should all be familiar with this by now. Persona is Latin for mask. Masks were used back in the day to play roles, in plays, religious ceremonies, and festivals. But nowadays, God only knows what we use masks for. Scaring the crap out of people?
Can you throw it to me? I really don't want it. Don't do that!
When a person plays a role in life, society is what moves forward. Think about society like one gigantic casting call, and people are just taking roles on the world's stage. Now, Jung believed that a person's persona forms at the age of around 5. However, I tend to disagree. At such a young age, you're still carefree, and aren't really aware of the social stigmas around you. I would say that your persona doesn't truly form until the ages of 10 to 13. Around the end of elementary school and the beginning of middle school. Everything is changing, and kids can be downright cruel during those years. It's not really an easy time for anyone. This is when a persona is most needed to hide from the world around you. Through high school, things get better, but a persona is still often used, especially when interacting with new groups of people. I wouldn't say that anyone truly breaks free of their persona, but you do find a better sense of yourself around the age of 25. So I hear, anyway. Teenagers, in our endless quest to discover who we are, often use the power of persona to become someone else. A teen's persona oftentimes is a denial to live as one's true self, but for most, that's because we don't really know who we are as people yet. Personas help teach you how to become someone you're not in order to fit into society. We see people all the time trying to fight this, but like the ancient Japanese proverb says, the nail that sticks out usually gets hammered down. In short, personas act as a mediator between your inner self and the outside world. When we know a person's role in society based on their persona, it helps interactions with that person go much more smoothly than they might go otherwise. When you wear a persona, it helps you socialize by making it easier for people to relate to you. Sounds useful, right? As useful as it sounds, you do need to be careful. While the use of a persona can be helpful, taking on a persona you can't handle can have lasting damaging effects to your physical and mental health. It's also important to give yourself reality checks. Playing a role can be fun, but at some point it stops being a role anymore. You'll lose sight of who you truly are, and eventually fade into your own persona. All in all, the power of persona is essential to one's own social survival. Summon it to your side whenever you're in need of a mask in this world. Use them to overcome bad times. Use them to enjoy the good. But remember, a persona is only as strong as one's own will.
Huh?
I am thou. Thou art I. The time has come. Open thine eyes and call forth what is within.